Anyone got a pencil? Hello and welcome to the Mixtape podcast. My name's Mark and I am your host. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Every week on the show, I ask my guests to make up an imaginary mixtape and pick 6 tracks for it. I've had some incredible chats. They're already there in the archives, just waiting for you to stumble across them. I've had chats with Steve Kilby from The Church, Rowetta from The Happy Mondays, Rick from Ash. I've had Al Anderson, one of the original Wailers. I've had Clint Boone from Your Spiral Carpets. I've had Donita Sparks from L7. I've had Scott Kirkland from The Crystal Method. There's lots and lots of episodes sitting there waiting for you to discover. If you enjoy this week's episode, please feel free to rate it 5 stars on Spotify and or jump up to the top of the page and hit that old follow or subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time there is a new episode. Catch up with everything I'm doing by going to www.themixtapepodcast.com. That's enough of the intro. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's Mixtape show. And today, I think this is the first for the Mixtape, but the first time I've had an ARIA award-winning singer, songwriter and guitarist, Diesel. Welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
Great, mate. Fantastic. Thanks for making the time for coming on. So we're going to chat today about your new album, Bootleg Melancholy, and the new single off it is Forever. Just chat to us a little bit about that and your sort of, your songwriting process. Give us a bit of an insight into your sort of creative process and what your sort of inspirations were for this record, mate.
Yeah, well, I made 2 records in the beginning of the pandemic. I don't know if you call it the beginning, but it just, where was the beginning? Where was the end? It's just kind of like, how long is a piece of string? But I just finished one, and then we were supposed to tour. That was called Sunset Suburbia. That was quite heartbreaking, and it was pretty evident that the touring wasn't going to happen. So I set sail on a blues record, which I made completely on my lonesome. I'm playing everything, but it's just me like banging away like in a Stevie Wonder fashion. And that's an album of like some of my favorite blues cuts, and I wrote some stuff for it as well. And that was called Alone with Blues. Mm-hmm. And after that, I was kind of like, okay, this isn't gonna like go away and kind of resume play anytime soon. So I started working on an album of my own material, and that's a pretty normal process for me. At some point, I feel like I've got to like kind of empty the cache, Yeah, it just felt like a cathartic thing. And so, yeah, the theme of the Bootleg Melancholy album is, there's a theme all the way through it, I guess, of kind of the armchair traveling I was doing in our second lockdown. Started to really think about all the places, people, and times that I've had in different parts of the world. And at one point I sort of kind of thought to myself, I feel like I'm almost making myself melancholy. I'm forcing myself to kind of, it's a bit like I guess that kind of pain that you have when you're a child and you get a tooth that's about to fall out and you just can't help wiggle it, It's that sort of, it wasn't, there's this kind of melancholy that's not good, and I'm aware of that. I also have plenty of that. But it's kind of like there's a melancholy that I really like, and that definitely fuels a lot of my writing, I guess. So this album was definitely, really fueled by that. And as we started opening up again, I kind of tools down because I just got really busy doing festivals and stuff. And then I kind of went, right, I got to finish this record, buckle down. And so I finished it around April, May of last year, and so started on it and started working on artwork and tour dates and blah, 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 and released it at the end of the end of October last year. Mm-hmm. And it's got great radio response, which is really, really nice. It went to the, high, top 10 in the ARIA charts, I believe, when it came out. It was number 3, actually, just behind Troye Sivan. That was nice. And I've heard it in Woolies. Those are all really nice things. As we're out and about and touring again, and for a musician that was like in mothballs for 2 years, like unlike plumbers who just didn't stop working through the pandemic, because Lord knows we were all destroying our plumbing at home. Yeah, I really am happy about, like this release and just it kind of being more of a effervescent kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're sort of partway through the tour. You played a few dates already, and for WA and Perth fans, 22nd of March you're playing Subiaco, and the 23rd you're down in Margaret River. I know you sold out Sydney Opera House as well, and you've also got dates at the Tivoli in Broken Hill. That's a bit of a way out, mate. That's a bit of a trek for a gig. You must have other stuff going on there.
Well, that's all part of the Monday. It's like the Big Red Bash, which is in Birdsville.
Mm-hmm.
And then a weeks later, there's Monday, which is outside of Broken Hill.
Mm.
They're probably like 1,500 kilometers away from each other. Nothing's that close when you're out there. But it's part of the same. There's these two desert gigs that happen every year. And I actually I've never done Monday before, but I've done the Big Red Bash out in Birdsville, probably the first or second year. And it's really grown now. It's technically it's the biggest, the most remote festival in the world. That's what they're saying. So
yeah, sure. And is dieselmusic.com.au is the sort of one-stop shop for all the show dates and tickets and where people can buy the record. I saw that there's a link to the album on the website as well, and JB Hi-Fi have got an awesome looking clear vinyl signed version variant of the record as well if you want to get along there. dieselmusic.com.au. You also played the Mushroom 50 gig last year. How was that for you? That must have been a sort of a career highlight maybe, for you.
it was definitely a real milestone and a highlight. Yeah, I mean, I remember doing the Mushroom 30, sorry, the Mushroom 25. What am I talking about?
Right, yeah.
And it seemed that long ago. And it's like, what? Okay, 25 years ago. Yeah, just that. So, yeah, it kind of blows my mind. But here we are.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they put this Mushroom at 50 out on DVD or whether it's out, the concert's out anywhere. I'm sure they would have made
It'll be definitely, it's something that they'll run on Netflix or one of those streaming platforms. Because they recorded the first one. That was a video and DVD. Or I don't even know if it was DVD then. I think it was just a video. I've got it somewhere in a box.
Yeah. Okay, let's drop into your mixtape portion of the chat, Mark. And as you know, my show's called The Mixtape. So when I get people in for a chat, I like to sort of get them to imagine they're making up a mixtape, or for younger artists and listeners, a playlist. Because I did actually have to explain to someone once what a mixtape was. He didn't know what I was talking about. But yeah, that's a sign of the times, I guess.
Mixtape can mean so many things, Mark, as you probably realize. For some people, it's like an album that they make when they don't want to just make a kind of like, oh, this isn't an album, it's just a mixtape, but it's actually an album. But it's just like, it's almost like I've got a bunch of songs and I'm not really sure if it's an album, but I'm gonna whack them together and I'll call it a mixtape. Then there's the tape that you would make, when you met somebody or you've got a buddy or you want to like make something somebody, and you get all your records out and you drop the needle and then take it off and stop the cassette, drop the needle and do that. Yeah, there were those, and that's a mixtape too. So
sure, yeah, that's more like what my show's all about. Like I got given my first mixtape when I was a 16, 17-year-old apprentice, and it was full of Jeff Healey Band, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Cream, Clapton, all that good stuff. So that was my sort of first mixtape, and that's what kind of inspired me to, create the show and the podcast around that. And just I love, the biggest buzz I get is making up a mixtape for someone and then coming back to me saying, "Oh, I love that track. I love that track." Like introducing people to new music is what it's all about for me. So that's sort of the concept of the show is that, and just but on a bigger scale. Do you know what I mean?
I've got an old friend who I've known since we were like 11. And he's I call him a musicologist, and he's been making cassettes with just like tracks that I've never heard and artists that I've never heard of. He turned me on to so many things. I've got a drawer of them, and I can't get rid of them. They're just like no, I'm hanging on to them. they're too
Yeah.
special. I'm sure I'm wasn't the only one that was receiving them. He's very generous, and I'm sure there's other people that have got draws of them as well. But they are like, they're just, yeah. I know I can get all those songs now on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, but I want to keep it.
I've got a friend, Kirsty. She lives in the UK, and I used to burn CDs for her because that was sort of the sort of era. And she's worn some of them out. She still plays them
Yeah,
now in her car, like 25 years later. Yeah,
I bought this printer that could put artwork on the CD that was just like the dots. And I did one for my wife with a picture of a dog at the time and her. And it like you said, it's literally it skips, like it's not because it's dirty or scratched. It's just literally worn out.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so track one of your mixtape, Mark, is an attention grabber, something to kick it off in fine style. And what did you pick for that, mate?
Well, this is a song that I just love the story behind it. Bibi, who is, I think, not even 20 when she wrote this song, she's an artist in her own right. And she somehow got the song to Rihanna, and Rihanna said, yeah, I'll be having that. And, it was life-changing for her. But, I mean, the story behind it, she went in and she was feeling like a bit salty that day and not feeling too much like, being in the studio maybe, and her producer and her were working and just had this beat going, and that's, she just got on the mic and started singing that. And look, I just find the song it's just got so much mood. And Kanye, his drums are insane. Like I don't know many producers, maybe Metro Boomin, that can get drums like they're so bombastic, but don't just like, hemorrhage and fall apart. They're still so steadfast. That drum break is insane. So yeah, this is a song that we kind of played a lot in the pandemic and we were like 5 of us in our house, and we used to make jokes about Tuesday night was the night we'd get really, really lit, and it was like, I don't know why it was Tuesday, but Tuesday became Saturday.
Yeah.
And just playing music really loud and dancing around like an idiot and in your house was a really good thing to do at that point.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I do, Mark, is on the radio show, I'll drop the tracks in as we're chatting. On the podcast, there'll be a separate Spotify playlist of all your choices. Some stuff from your new album, some of the classics like Tip of My Tongue and stuff like that will be in that playlist as well, just for people to drop into and have a listen. Fingers crossed I can find a radio edit for that, because my show goes out at 6 p.m. and there's quite a bit of swearing in that. So I'll put fingers crossed I can find a radio edit. Okay, track 2, Mark. What's a song that you sing loud and proud when you're on your own in the car or the shower?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sam Cooke, so whether it's in the shower or at the toilet, if I find a good sounding toilet or whatever at the venue, if I'm on stage and I walk into the bathroom and it's like, ooh, nice tiles in here, and I'll sing some Sam Cooke. So yeah, Cupid by Sam Cooke.
Yeah, that's on my shower playlist as well. Unbelievably, yeah, I can do an half-passable version of that in the shower, because you get obviously better acoustics, and the steam and the hot air gives you a bit of a sort of your vocal cords a bit of a lift. Yeah, fantastic choice, mate. And just very quickly, I've got a playlist of. So what I've started doing is I've got 6 Spotify playlists, all the track 1s, all the track 2s, all the track 3s, all the track 4s that people like yourself have picked over the last sort of year or so. And the amount of soul classics that are on track 2, Aretha Franklin, Otis Redding, Love Man was last week's episode. The guy picked Love Man by Otis Redding. The amount of soul classics that are on that track 2 is, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's unreal. I'm really starting to see trends now with the mixtape. We'll get to that with the next track as well, which segues nicely into track 3. Mark, is your favourite cover version. What did you pick for that, mate?
Well, I picked Jimi Hendrix all along the Watchtower. I know there's been so many great covers, especially now. I feel like people are really doing some interesting things with older songs. But yeah, this is a time where artists would cover a song almost like weeks after somebody would release something, and it was an acceptable. It was like, yeah, it was kind of, there was a lot of kind of fanboying and fangirling back then. And also record companies were like, not in this case with Jimi Hendrix, but I think in a lot of cases, the record companies were like, hey, well, they had a hit, let's see if we can have a hit too. It's a hit is a hit. So No, Jimi Hendrix was a massive Bob Dylan fan. And this song, I feel like Bob hasn't said an awful lot, but I know that there is something of him saying that he pretty much thought it was pretty damn good. And just the production alone at that time, to get all of those ideas in with the amount of tracks they had, it's an absolute opus. Like, it's got like multiple solos. Yeah, like when you start taking it apart and the way they pan things, an incredible piece of recording. It really is. It's not just like, oh, some old recording from the 60s. It's an unbelievably realized, and it's a masterpiece. That's not a word I use very much. So
I think for me, there's not many cover versions that I would say are better than the original, but that is one of them. Yeah, it's one of them. And I don't normally brag about my record collection, but I wanted to just show you this real quick. UK first press of Electric Ladyland. Yeah, I'll probably have to blur that because that's not going to be suitable for YouTube. But yeah, I've been loving that album for many, many years since I saw a cover band in the southeast of England when I was sort of 16, 17 in the late 80s, early 90s, and they were big Hendrix fans. And yeah, Electric Ladyland, classic albums, and that cover version for me is, I think, I was saying at the beginning, I was talking about trends of the mixtape that I'm doing, and Bob Dylan covers, like, there's so many of them in that choice. Yeah, unreal. Okay, I'm moving quickly on because I really, really want to get to track 6 with you, Mark. Track 4 is a song you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self. What did you pick, mate?
I think I picked Heaven by Tierra Whack.
Yes, you did.
There's two reasons. I think the lyric is kind of, it's so philosophical and wise, and it's, kind of like saying it's, it's cool. Like, all of my favorite people are in heaven. And then I thought, you know what? It would have been cool if I was 18 and I heard this sound. There's a lot of people in her lane, I guess, that get a lot more attention. Ice Spice or Lizzo, or, I mean, the list could go on and on and on ad infinitum. But Tiara, I just think, is so unique, and her lyrics are insanely good. And she's produces herself. She's hyper talented, and I love turning people onto her if they haven't heard of her. She's got an album. Every song is like 30 or 40 seconds long, which sounds ridiculous,
but 1 minute or something like that, is it? Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Like, the album actually pays off. I listen to it on the airplane all the time and listen to it repeatedly because it's actually really kind of gets me into it like a beta or brainwave state. And it's incredible. Like, you'd think that a song wouldn't be able to do everything it needs to do, but it actually, she pulled it off. It also think it would be like, well, that would be easy, making a record with like the tracks that are a lot shorter. You don't have. It's actually a very hard thing to do, and she pulled it off beautifully. So, Tiara Whack, Heaven is my choice.
It's a genius concept in this day and age with social media. I know it was a big thing on Instagram for that album, and I think with attention spans and the way the songs are written these days with the hook, like, trying to hook you in straight away, and that sort of 1 minute fight of putting them on Instagram as well, I think that really helped with the success of that record. And I think for in this day and age, it was a really genius sort of move to the concept of an album.
When she released it was like before the TikTok thing, almost, in kind of ahead of the curve too.
Okay, track 5, Mark, and this is one of my favourite ones to talk about because it gives always good insight into the person that I'm talking to. What's a song you would put on your mixtape to let the listener know you're romantically interested?
Well, when my wife and I met, we played a lot of Percy Sledge, a lot of Marvin Gaye, of course, and Al Green was just probably, it's hard to say who got the most plays, but we got to go and see Al Green in his church in Memphis, and it was a total crapshoot because you can't just go to a schedule and go, oh, Al's going to be there. It's one known fact that he's usually there 2 Sundays of every month, and you don't know which Sundays they are. We just went down there and we were trying for the afternoon kind of session, and the afternoon mass started at 4 p.m. we got there around 3 and we're just like milling around the gravel car park, and boom, this Rolls Royce pulls up, driving himself, an old 7 Silver Shadow, and classic English car, with a phone on the, like an actual like red house phone on the back dash, amongst this plush kind of carpet stuff. And the seats in those things, like, I don't know if you remember that period, but they were like twice as wide as a human body almost. They're just like massive. Yeah. And he's like super bouncy as well. The whole car just bounces. And he's goes across the gravel car park, and he gets out. You can see his head bobbing, and he gets out and he sees us, and he sings his hello. He goes like, ah! And I'm like, oh my God, Al Green just sang hello to me. And then he invited us in and said, you're early, but come on in, sit down, take. And then he went off, and I was watching him like he was getting changed in his little priest, little room that they have out the back, and no one had arrived yet. And then slowly people started coming, and it was Mother's Day. And so all the mothers got called up. And of course my wife went up there, and I saw Al Green sort of, I don't want to say it, but it sounds presumptuous, but he was shaking everyone's hands. When he got to my wife, he wouldn't let go of her hand. And I'm like, I got jealous. I got to say, I was like, dude, let go of my wife's hand, But then there was the other voice saying in my head, like, but it's Al Green, like hold the hand as you want. Yeah. So yeah, Green is debatably like the smoothest singer I can think of on the planet. He's just, yeah. So, and I had the ultimate, I don't know what you call it, like compliment, I suppose, because when I did the song "Come to Me" with Terry Manning, who is a producer that worked with Al Green back in the Stax sessions, he was crazy young when the Stax were going, but he worked on a lot of Al Green sessions. My sound in my head was like Al Green. I actually got Al Green's backing singers to sing on that song. I had the Memphis Horns, who played on a lot of those records. And yeah, I was like, cool, this is my version of Al Green. I wanted to sound like Memphis, and I wanted to sound that sound. Fast forward a couple of years after I recorded that, somehow Al heard that record, Come to Me, and did his homework and found out that Terry had produced it. He was like, I really want that sound. Like, you did that record, you produced for that guy, blah, blah, blah. And Terry was like, oh, well, yeah. And then he rang me up and said, you're not going to believe this. Like, I just got a job producing it to Al Green. And then the song that we were trying to sound like him, he heard it and thought it sounded really good. So that's pretty funny.
What an amazing buzz. What an amazing buzz. Yeah. Okay. Normally track 6 is normally a bonus track, Mark, but because I'm buzzing about that song so much, I'm gonna try and just get it in really quickly. Track 6 is something obscure, left field, B-side. Tell us a story about the Emerson Brothers, mate, very quickly.
Yeah, well, the Emerson Brothers were like one of them was 14, the other one was 17 or something. Their dad was a builder, carpenter or something. They come from the Midwest, and he saw that they had this musical talent, so he took out a loan on everything he could and bought them some recording equipment. And it sounds like a story that people would do now, like they go to a music shop and they get a laptop and they, next minute they're Kevin Parker, But this was a long time before that. It was still when the record companies sort of controlled everything with the budgets for the big proper studios and everything. And they made this music that was like basically literally in their basement, and a bit like Prince's first album that he did by himself in a basement. And it just kind of sadly went nowhere until, like, fast forward, I don't know, 15, 20 years later, it starts popping up, probably in the UK first. It always seems to be like the Mojo magazine finds it or something, But yeah, fast forward even further, went back into the charts. And there's a doco sort of life movie, whatever you call that, bio-op movie with Casey Affleck is one of the brothers, I believe. And yeah, full proper American budget movie about the story of the Emerson Brothers. And this song is just, I don't know, I'm always skeptical when people go, oh, you got to check out this rare find. I'm like, yeah, okay. And sometimes I go, yeah, it's cool, Yeah, but this one puts me in a space every time. It's just the atmos that they create. There's like this really pure teenage thing that you can hear there. But there's also it's also so sophisto at the same time. You go, how do these kids have such depth of, you know, it's like, this is the stuff that Phil Spector did, you know, like deep into his career. This is heavy stuff. So yeah, it's just a great song to listen to, maybe with earbuds or headphones with the lights out, after you've had like a couple of nice Pinots or something, you know, and you got the incense burning.
Yeah. The Emerson Brothers' Dreaming Wild is the album. The story I read, Mark, was that some record collector found the record in an antique shop somewhere, and that sort of sparked a bit of internet buzz, and it sort of went from there. I'm going to take a massive deep dive into the Emerson Brothers, and that is what the mixtape is all about for me, is unearthing stuff like that and putting it out there for everyone to listen to. So I really, really hope everyone enjoys Baby by the Emerson Brothers, which is an amazing track, and I know I'm going to be loving that album till the end of my days. It's a fantastic album.
Cool.
On that note, Diesel, I know we've gone over time. I do apologise, mate, but I really, really wanted to get to track 6. Thanks so much for your time and being so generous with it, mate. Looking forward to your WA gigs, for tickets, for the new record, everything else you want to find out about Diesel, dieselmusic.com.au. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers, buddy. Take it easy. See you later. That was a Mixtape podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to jump up to the top of the page and smash that follow button, and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. Or follow me on Instagram at the Mixtape Perf. Till the next time.